Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Freedom Financial Solutions and Property Advisors Australia free group Q&A to talk all things property. It's 7 o'clock on Monday, the 7th of April, 2025. And we've got some wonderful guests here tonight. We've got Freedom FFS's founder, Cass Smith, also a property guru of many decades. Oops, I shouldn't say that. And we've got the lovely Jessica, who began her career, I think, working with Cass and now has branched out on her own and working with Jeff, who's also our esteemed property guru. So tonight there's no real format. It's simply an open forum. If you've got any questions about property in general, property investment, property management, property and self-managed super funds, we'll open it up for any questions. You can just start asking a question, or you can put your hand up like this, or virtually. It's up to you. If you're having trouble with your sound, you can also put your question in the chat. It is being recorded, and we'll be posting it on our YouTube channel later for those people who couldn't join us tonight. But maybe we'll just do a quick introduction. Cass, do you want to say hi?
Hi. I was actually just thinking that this is quite a good one to watch, and particularly once it's posted online, because we have such diverse opinions here. We have me, who was a former property expert, but I now like gold and silver. Jeff, who's in property expert, and we're here talking about the share market, which is neither of our experts, but you know, we've both got very contrary opinions. So yeah, it'd be quite a good one in terms of differing opinions coming through on various topics. But yes, Kat's the only one left here now.
No, she's accidentally dropped off. Jeanette's come back.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm still here.
Okay, well, yeah. Jeanette's back here. So yeah, if Kat or Jeanette, if you've got any questions, let us know, because this session goes for as short or as long as people want us to talk. So with no questions, we'll just do a bit of banter, but if you've got questions to start us off, that would be great.
Well, perhaps we can get Jess and Jeff just to give a brief one-line intro into who they are and what their expertise is.
You can start, Jess.
Yeah, sure, I can start. Yeah, we are here as Property Advisors Australia, and we are here to try to answer some questions, because we are the actually agents constantly on the ground, and we see the market through our eyes, and we're here to give you some opinions on what's actually happening in the market, not just from what you can see on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Jeff. I've been in property for 25 years now. So we started Property Advisors because there was a need in the market for us to provide information and transparent information at that regarding property and where to buy. We invest in a lot of the markets I personally invest in a lot of the markets that we do buy into, or we do buy for our clients. Our clients, we are very transparent in the way that we present property to you, the reasons why. We want you to ask as many questions as you possibly can, and we also want you to understand why we would present something to you. So, and we want you to understand the process. So for us, it's about making sure that you get the property that you want and for the price that you want or can afford, and the reasons why we do that. We want to add to your portfolio. We haven't had a client yet who hasn't made money out of property. I mean, not all of them have sold them, but there are no ones sort of back where they started. We only look in markets that we feel are going to increase from a capital perspective, and we also only look in markets that provide positive cash flow or high yield property. So yeah, that's all we are.
Thanks, Jeff. Now, Kat or Jeanette, did you have a question? You don't have to. You don't feel obliged to ask a question. Just if you do have one, by all means, jump in there. And if you don't have a question right this second, I was going to ask Cass, you said you all three have different points of view. So in relation to what exactly?
Well, I guess as we were just talking about the share market crash today, I feel it's just the beginning of an extended crash. Jim Rickards has predicted that the crash will be the 11th of April, so we're pretty well on target for something worse to come towards the end of the week. But we were talking about gold, and Jeff was saying that he feels it's going to come back down. He's waiting for it to drop, and I'm saying no. The share market crashing.
Didn't say drop. I said correct. There would be a correction.
But anyway, so Jeff and I have had this argument for several years now, and so far I'm winning.
Well, look, and gold and property aren't mutually exclusive. Ainsley Bullion actually did for the first time I've ever seen them do a podcast. They do a lot of podcasts, but they did one on bullion and property. And what they're seeing is that a lot of their clients are either possibly selling their property and just parking it in bullion, waiting for the good opportunities, or they've got bullion and they're looking for property. So even they've started talking about that kind of nexus, which is interesting. So, Jeff, your point of view on what's going on? When's a good time to buy, now or yesterday?
No. I don't disagree with Catherine. Gold has surprised me, to be honest. So I've got some credentials behind this. I am an accountant by profession. I am not just a property person. So I am not an economist by any means. But a lot of what I see in the market is that you will have runs. There will be a run. There is a run on gold at the moment, and that was predicted. There will be a correction in gold. I'm not saying it's going to be a prolonged correction or a incredibly ridiculous correction in it, but there'll be a correction in it. I think the share market has been hyperinflated and way overinflated for a number of years now. So in my opinion, I saw this coming. I didn't know how it was going to come or in what form it was going to come, but certainly when you get somebody who has that much control over the global market and the uncertainty that goes with it, then, it was the catalyst for that to happen. Catherine and I don't disagree on a lot of things. And to some degree, we always believe, just like you said, Mary Jane, we park your money into property. We've seen some incredible returns for our clients, especially over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. Even though what's happening in the global economy doesn't really affect where we're at, it is going to affect the areas that we do buy into, but like anything, if you've got property that's sort of reliant on the beef industry, for instance, that's going to have an effect, or the wine industry or the spirits industry, and shipping, anything you're shipping to the United States is going to have a massive effect on you in the short term. Is that prolonged? I don't believe so. I believe that this is an initial reaction to the way that to probably a more balanced global economy. So I don't believe that this is going to be prolonged. Again, this is just my views. They're not taken from anywhere in particular, but everyone's got their opinions out there, so I thought I'd just share mine. I think it will all settle down, and I think that that everything will start to probably not go back to the way it was, but certainly I think a lot of the hype around it will sort of mellow out a little bit over time. Do I think what he's doing is right? No. Is it having a massive impact on the global economy? Absolutely. So in the short term, potentially you will see some drops in some stuff, but eventually over the long term, I think that gold will continue to push forward, crypto will continue to push forward. I think you'll see that property will continue to push forward as well. Share market, I don't have enough experience in that space to understand that, but potentially.
Thanks, Jeff. And I will just put a caveat on all this. None of this is financial advice.
None of it's financial advice. So it's just my opinion.
Interesting points of view and information that we come in contact with. Leonie's just joined us. Hi, Leonie. Just to let you know, this is being recorded. We'll put it on our YouTube channel. So if you want to put your screen off, that's fine. If you're happy to keep it on, we don't get millions of views. Well, maybe we will this time. But this is basically just a free group Q&A, and Kat's got her hand up. So we don't have any particular seminar or anything that we're presenting. It's really, if you've got questions about how do I invest in myself property from my self-managed super fund, tell me about investing in property. Kat, you've put your hand down. Were you just playing with the icons, were you?
No, just really briefly, because I know that's not what this is about, but just the thing with Jim Rickards and that sort of prediction, has there been any update from him on that date, or is that just that's been said and yeah, we're just still kind of running with that as a predicted date, given that things have sort of started a little earlier than the 11th?
Well, I'd actually heard the 8th of April, Cass, so it's moved 3 days.
The 11th of April is I'd have to go back onto Jim Rickards' channel. It's some specific announcement that Congress are going to make on the 11th or something. So yeah, it still could be the 11th, as in we're already in a really bad, unstable point of time. And then if there is a big announcement on the 11th, it could be catastrophic. But anyway, we've all been waiting for this, so I find it quite exciting. One thing I was going to talk about for this video, because this is probably the first time Jeff and I have been on together, a couple of years, I think. Jeff and I's background, we go back a long way. We seriously worked with the property market for probably around I did about 15 years, and then Jeff probably in the last 7 years. And then
probably for 25, but with your model and way of thinking, probably the last 7, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And then so Jeff and I work closely because I was in Canberra and Jeff's in Queensland. And I was mainly selling and recommending Queensland properties. So Jeff was a natural point of contact to work out the Queensland market and help me find the good properties for clients. And then out of that, we built Property Advisors Australia. I stepped back from property after COVID and just my beliefs in the way the world is turning. But Jeff and Jessica continue to do that role and do it absolutely fantastically. So with our clients, if people want to talk about gold and silver, they talk to me and Ainsley Bullion. If they want to talk about SMSF setup, mainly talk to Mary Jane now. Jessica and Jeff, if you want to find a really good property, they're your team. And then probably the glue that puts us all together is the SMSF link, because you can buy property in your SMSF. And a lot of people don't know that, and it's sort of a very new concept. But with Mary Jane being able to help you set up an SMSF, Jessica and Jeff find you a good property, I can then help you work out how to buy an SMSF, a property in your SMSF. And Jessica knows just as much as I do now with years under me. So we can set all that up. And then we have experienced mortgage brokers that can then get you the loan to buy in your SMSF. So you've basically got a whole team of people here that can come together to help you get property in your SMSF, or just property in your own name. That's
So Cass, that's interesting. So if you have your super money in a self-managed super fund, your self-managed super fund can actually go to a bank or a financier and borrow money to buy it. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly. So you really only need, so this is mostly what Jessica and I did over the last 10 years, was help people buy property in SMSF. So you would only need about 150,000, maybe a little bit more now, maybe about 200,000, and you could buy a $500,000 to $600,000 property in your SMSF, because you only need to put down a 20 or a 30% deposit and the stamp duty, and then the rest can be borrowed from the bank.
Can I just pick you up there, Jess? We've bought property predominantly in the 2 to 3, in the 2s and 300s. So wow. You don't need a lot of money. It's coming a little bit harder, but we've just probably in the last month, out of our last 6 deals we've done in the last month and a half, 4 of those were sub $400,000 properties.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's why I pulled out of where I stopped doing this with Jeff about maybe 2 years ago, because that's when we were doing a lot of new property, and it was up around the $600,000-$700,000 mark, and that's when I went, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I felt the new.
Cass has just moved into a new house.
You should take a photo of that.
So Cass just moved into her house the week she moved in. The cyclone hit up in the Gold Coast, and she has not been able to get proper internet yet. There you go. There you're back. She told me her internet was sorted. We were just explaining you'd been cyclone hit.
I've got Starlink now, but this is the first time it's been playing up, maybe because it's nighttime or something, I don't know. Still awaiting for NBN. They cancelled all the services because of the cyclone, so I'm still waiting.
So that's really interesting. So I mean, I'm sure people are interested where you're finding these great value properties. Is it regional? Can I get one of these beachfront on the Gold Coast? That'd be nice.
You probably can get one on the beachfront, but you'd probably have to rent it back to Oaks Apartments or something like that. We can buy them there. That's the sort of thing. There's property on the Gold Coast. You can buy apartments on the Gold Coast. Unfortunately, you do have to lease them back through some of the bigger hotel chains they've got. That's the way they do work. And you'll be paying under 300,000 for them. In SMSF, a lot of the lenders in SMSF space do require a certain yield. And we only shop in positively geared properties. So we don't want our clients tipping in not no money, but certainly not a lot of money. After tax, we want them to be in a position where they're actually getting money come back into their super fund rather than having to spend it. So we do shop a lot through regional areas in all states around Australia, predominantly in Queensland and in Western Australia. We can find some really, really good deals in those two areas. And it's not just always about the yield. We do look at from a capital growth perspective as well. So we certainly don't buy anything in a mining town, for instance, or at the bottom of a river. So we're very specific about where we want to buy these things. A lot of the east coast of Australia does flood, so you've got to really know your areas and even one particular area, for instance, half of it may flood, the other half may not. So you've got to sort of, the last sort of 3 months does tell you that there are a lot of properties that do get inundated, and you certainly just need to know where you're looking and how to pick it apart. We're not meteorologists by any means, but we do go to these areas. We do go to all the properties. Excuse me, not to the properties. We go to the areas and we do a lot of research around the areas that we do buy in.
Wow, that's a lot of travel. Can I ask you, so once you've got your property, let's say you've invested, you've helped someone invest, let's say I'm in Canberra and I invest in Queensland, how do I manage it?
We actually do a lot of that stuff as well. So we don't just send it to a particular property manager. We actually, when we go to the particular areas that we do buy in, we do a lot of research around the property managers. We interview a lot of them, just like you would if you were doing anything. Like if you were interviewing us to try and get us to help you, it's the same process. We do interview a lot of property managers. There are agents in some areas that I will buy property through. There are those same agents I would never sell a property through, just because of the way that they do business and the way that they work. So we do a lot of that research, and we put you in touch with the people that we feel are going to do the best job for you. And look, we don't always get it right. There are some precedents and things that we do need to follow. So in some markets that are really, really volatile, not volatile, but really, really hot and really a lot of people are looking at buying property on market is just about impossible for a reasonable price anyway. A lot of those people, we do have to send you back to the selling agents, property managers, but that doesn't mean that you're stuck there. It just means that for us to continue to get stock and help other clients, we do need to send you back to the agent or the agency that does the work. That does sell us the property, and that's just to guarantee a pipeline of future.
But basically,
properties.
you don't leave us on our own. You buy the property. That's not the end of the story. You'll help get the management going.
No. Yeah. We help everyone all the way through, from buying it to putting you in touch with the right people, all the way through building and pests and finance and all those. Well, finance you're already speaking to, but we always put you in touch with the people that we feel the best. And like I said, I buy myself in a lot of these areas. If there's a deal that's on the table, for instance, and nobody wants to take that deal up, then generally I will take that deal up for myself if I feel there's an opportunity there. So we invest in the same markets that we do encourage our clients to go to. So I guess that is some sort of solace, or what's the right word? Confirmation that we believe in the areas that we're putting our money into those areas. So hence when we ask our clients to do the same thing, they've got not a guarantee, but certainly they've got some confidence in being able to buy in those particular areas.
Yeah, and that's the do as we do, not do as we say model that Cass and I are very much we follow ourselves. Now, Kat, you do have your hand up. Do you have a question? You're welcome to. There you go.
Yes. I might sound a little bit different. It's Kyle. I just learned about an exciting new incentive today called the, and I could be way behind the latest, but unrealised capital gains tax. Are any of you guys able to comment on what that? I don't really have a clear understanding of what it is, and if it's only for investment properties or will be applied to
Super first.
yes, super, and then potentially residential properties. Do you guys have clarity on that?
So Cass is going to be the best one to talk on this. Cass, are you there?
Yeah, unfortunately, I dropped off there for a minute while that question was asked. Could you just please repeat that?
Yes, I'm just looking for clarity on the unrealised capital gains tax proposal that's kind of floating around at the moment. Do you have details on that, Cass?
Do you have more than 3 million in your super?
No.
Well, as far as I'm aware, it only affects you once you're over 3 million. And you know, I can be a little bit sarcastic at times because I've been in this industry for 30 plus years. So I think that warrants me being allowed to be a little bit sarcastic. If you've got more than 3 million in super fund, I think you should pay a little bit of tax.
Yeah. So the
And if you haven't got 3
concern,
million, then you don't have to worry about it.
the concern that I was looking about, it was a financial forecaster or advisor or something. It's talking about, yeah, that's the inroad. So I think you understand the attitude of these kind of ideas, and they will squeeze as time goes on.
Yeah,
So it may be 3 million now, but it's projected by this guy, right? I don't know his credibility, to change over time down to potentially 500,000.
yeah, I guess so. There have been other provisions that they were very much the same. It was there was a $6 million asset threshold test for a similar type thing, but it was to do with small business exemptions. And I had a client at the time come to me and say, Catherine, oh my God, I exceeded the $6 million net asset value test. And I went, well, good on you. And he said, well, what am I going to do? I said, oh, you're going to pay a little bit of tax, mate.
Yeah.
For my estimate, a couple of $1,000s, mate. You got over 6 million. Good on you. Anyway, that test was indexed. So, and most of the tests that they introduce, they do index them. So they do go up each year. But yes, there's always, I mean, we know government, we know what they can and do. They could change that for the worst later on down the track. I think they'd struggle because they started it at 3 million and I can't remember how long. I don't pay attention to all this rah-rah anymore. But I think they've been trying to get that through for well over a year, if not 18 months. And they can't because people are complaining against the 3 million. So I think if they wanted to bring it down to 2,100,000, they would really, really struggle because they're even having trouble getting it through at the $3 million level, even though it's only going to affect like the top 3% of Australia. Still
so can you help me understand the techniques of it? Because I don't really I get the concept that.
No, I don't waste my time going into things that aren't even in yet and don't affect 99% of my clients. All I can say is if it does come in, then we immediately go into strategizing as to how to get around it. There is one test that's very similar, which is a $1.6 million test. If you've got more than 1.6 million in your super fund, then you pay tax on the income of the asset value over 1.6 million. And this does affect a lot of people actually in Canberra because the Commonwealth Government pension is measured in that at a times 16 rate. So if you're getting a $100,000 pension, which a lot of public servants do, times 16, they're already at the 1.6 million. So, but a very similar thing, I just said to clients, well, yes, you're going to have to pay a little bit of tax. What it meant is the 1.6 million, the first 1.6 million is still tax free.
Yep.
And then if you have a little bit, you say you've got 300,000 more than that, the income on that, which might be 10%, which might be say 30,000 in income, will get taxed at 15%. So you're talking a couple of $1,000s in tax. Yeah, and so the $3 million, I think they're planning at the same. Everything up until $3 million is still exempt. So you're doing pretty well.
And then if the property goes up in value, you pay tax on that at 15%.
Yeah, but only the bit above the 3 million.
Yes.
The first 3 million is probably still exempt. So you're still doing pretty well.
Yeah, okay.
Got it. Thank you.
And I always compare the super environment to the personal environment. So if you had those assets in your personal name, you'd be taxed from $1.
Yes.
So that still makes SMS the best value investment, because the first 3 million is going to be tax free.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
And we do have an election coming up. So if you don't like the government or the opposition, you can vote for someone else.
A good time for our plug. Mary Jane and I are both running for the Heart Party. I'm running for the Senate in Queensland. Mary Jane, you're running for?
Canberra, the House of Representatives electorate in Canberra.
Yeah. Where did you place your signs, Mary Jane?
Oh, I have literally arrived back from Queensland today because I had a study trip already planned for up there, and I came back and I've got my boxes of 100 core flutes here. Went to Bunny today. I've got the stakes, I've got the things. I'll put them together, and on the weekend I'll go around and shove them in the ground here and there. So if anybody wants to volunteer, let me know, because it's it takes quite a bit of work.
Yeah, I can put some around my neighborhood.
Oh, okay, great. And I've got
I can come and take some tomorrow if you like.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can help you. Yeah, for sure.
Wow, okay. My first volunteer.
Yeah.
So the Heart Party, for those that don't know, is the reason I did decide to join, even though I swore black and blue I'd never run for politics again, was that I really can't argue with their policies. Heart stands for health, which we all value. Environment, which we all value. HEA, accountability, which, yes, the government should be accountable. Rights, which, yes, we all want our rights. And transparency, which the government should be. So they have broader policies on their website, which I've read through, and I can't fault any of them in terms of the way Australia could go if we got in, but we're not going to get in. But vote for us anyway. Give us a little bit of credibility. So is Mary Jane bringing something up there?
Yeah, I'm just sharing the Heart Party website.
Here you go.
There's Cass. So, and I'm there as well. There we go. But basically, if you want to go, you can have a look at the Heart Party. The policies are here. Environment, health. It basically, HEART stands for health, environment, accountability, rights, transparency. So all those things, basically making things more affordable for Australians, healthier for Australians, both physically and in the environment. Rights and transparency and accountability, especially about the governance. So, but the main thing that is really cool, I don't know if anybody knows Barbara O'Neill, the health guru. Yeah. So the founder of the Heart Party is the husband of Barbara O'Neill. So Barbara O'Neill actually endorses the Heart Party. We wanted to get her to run, but that's not her jam. She's too busy overseas giving health lectures to millions of people, but she's banned in Australia. So if you do, as I said to people, if you want something to change, everybody has to choose themselves to create that change by doing something differently. So, exciting times. But back on topic, property. So now, Jessica, so I work very closely with Jessica. So what I do is I help men and women in Australia set up self-managed super funds, and a self-managed super fund is simply superannuation, your money that is in your bank account that you then get to invest in your preferred asset class, like property. And how that works is I then if you're interested in property, I introduce you to Jessica, and she will explain, well, if you've got this much, you can buy something outright. She can help you find it with Jeff. If you don't have the full amount, you can borrow to buy, and Jessica will step you through that process. There's a lot of paperwork, lots of paper. We love paperwork. Paperwork is our friend, because that gets the assets that we want that grow over time. So Jessica, do you have any how is it doing what you're doing?
Yeah, it's been really well, and I've been approached by many Freedom clients. And back to the topic is that these clients, they normally hold a lot of gold and silver, but over time they tend to diversify their investment basket. So they want to add a small investment property into the basket. just to make sure they have everything. And that's how I got approached from most of our clients. And we've been searching for properties probably around 400, 300,000, because we don't want our clients at this age to take on a really big debt. That's not what we want, because we don't know where the interest rate is going. We don't want you to be under a lot of pressure paying off the lender. And a lot of our clients choose to buy something outright. So you might think, oh, with 300,000, what can I buy outright? Might be nothing, but you'll be surprised. Lots of our clients have purchased property outright under 300,000, and they've received around, let's say, 8%, 7% rental return. So how does it work is, for your super fund, you got to pay your accountants, right? Every year you have to pay all these fees to make it running. So the rental return come in as a cash flow will help you to pay the fees to run the SMSF. So that would release the pressure of you must work full time because you need to contribute super in it. So over time, a lot of clients try to add a property into their portfolio because gold and silver are amazing investment, no doubt. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't generate cash flow. That's the only thing it's missing. So that's why clients reach out. They want something to have a cash flow, and they don't want to spend a lot of their money. So here we go, some really good regional Queensland investment opportunity for our clients. And yeah, and I recognize, tonight we have, for example, Kat is one of the clients that I spoke to over the phone about super fund investment. So yeah, a lot of clients do reach out, and to be honest, I would love to have a one-on-one session where you feel more of a privacy to talk about your personal finance. And if you would love a one-on-one session with me running about 1 hour, you could easily book from our Freedom website just to pick the property investment consult. And then you could get a one-on-one session with me where you feel safe to let me know what's going on.
And why don't you pop your email in the chat as well, so in case anybody wants to contact you directly. And that's a really good point, is that, the ATO is not prescriptive around what you can or can't invest in. The only general broad guidelines is that it needs to weigh up all the risk benefits and so on and so on. And certainly having a diversified portfolio is good. So a bit of bullion, a bit of property, bit of crypto, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but there's a whole range of things that you can look at. But certainly the mainstay of the people that we come across in our company is bullion and property are the big ones. Jeff, how are you going? So where are the hot spots?
Tell all my secrets. No, we do shop. When I say shop, we do buy for a lot of our clients through regional areas in Queensland, and it's not in any one in particular. There's lots of different regions. Like I said before, it's just knowing the landscape in a lot of these places. We can buy you really cheap property. Sometimes when you look at a property, you do your own research, and we do encourage you to do your own research and look for your own properties as well. But a lot of the properties we do buy are off. We do buy off market and on market, but we predominantly like to shop in the off-market space. We do have a lot of agents. We've got about 8,000 agents around the country that do give us property when we ask for it in particular area, or in all areas around Australia for that matter. But we're very particular about where we buy. So mining towns is not something that we do encourage. It's not something that's off the table, but it's certainly something that we do not encourage you to do when you've got one industry or an area so heavily reliant on one industry. If that industry does die, like Mount Isa, for example, Mount Isa, the mine going to close there. Once the mine closes, the town will die a slow death. So because there's nothing really bringing it there, there's not a lot of tourism. It is sort of on the track between Queensland and sort of Alice Springs or Northern Territory. But apart from that, there's not a lot of tourism, not a lot of people go through that particular area. So buying your investment property in Mount Isa, for instance. I mean, I can buy a fabulous 4-bedroom home in Mount Isa with a pool and a great big double shed, and you can pay $320,000 for it, and you rent it out for $1,000 a week. But that only lasts for so long. That will run out, and eventually the property will go backwards in value, and you've invested $320,000. In the future, you might not get a return on your property. So we do look at areas predominantly that are fairly diverse, and you'd be surprised what's out there. We've bought for clients in lots of different areas and lots of different coastal. We've bought for clients that are sort of central Queensland, northern Queensland, northern Western Australia. You get some good deals up that way as well. Predominantly the major cities, as Catherine and I were first talking, I think before everyone turned up, the major cities are too expensive at the moment, so we don't see any value in the major cities. And when you're buying in SMSF, not so much in your own name, but in SMSF, you do need a certain yield, and we just can't get those yields in the major capital cities. So we tend to go a little bit further out. And then from the major centres, we go sort of further out from that. So it's like concentric circles. We work our way out from there. But we do work with a lot of agents right around the country, and we're just about to finalise a deal that settles on Friday in Western Australia in sort of the greater Perth region. This particular client did want to be in Western Australia, did want to be in a large regional area, and he was they were buying in their own names, I think, Jess. So they didn't have to fall into the yield calculations that some lenders put around SMSF. So it's not just about finding a property; it's about finding the right property. And like I said, we do have an in-depth conversation with everybody. We're not financial planners by any means. I can only tell a lot of stories about things that we've done and what things that we've done for other clients. So when we do it, we're very open, we're very transparent, and we'd love to sit on one of these calls and have an hour and a half of just questions as to why, because we want you to understand. In fact, we've got clients that buy off us now. We've just done repeat clients, we just did one last month. We've got another one coming up this month, and we've got another lady at the moment we're actually buying a second one for. And her comment to me the other day was, "You tell us what we need to do." And that's what we like to hear. And we don't take advantage of that. That's not the way we work. I've probably got too many good bones in my body to be that. You do hear lots of stories about real estate agents that all they're trying to do is, get you to buy something or rip you off. That's certainly not the way that we work. We love our repeat clients, and we've got lots and lots of them, and a lot of people that do refer to us as well. So that's more important to us. Well, that is the most important thing to us. It's making sure that you do make money, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all on this planet for. So make enough money to really get us to a certain point so we can all live comfortably.
Thank you, Jeff. Now, you mentioned earlier, and I think Jess also, that positive gearing is what you're looking for. So, Cass, if you can help me out here, I have heard that in an SMSF, if you're younger, that is negative gearing something that's an advantage for tax wise. I know Grant, for example, Grant Abbott, our legal consultant's very big on this concept of when you're younger, you do the negative gearing, but then when you're older, it goes into positive gear.
No, not so much in an SMSF, because the tax rate is only 15%. So the negative gearing is very good for the younger people, not just young. It's not necessarily younger people. People are on a very, very high income, very, very high wage, and they want to try and get a tax deduction. So Jeff and I used to do a lot of very expensive properties in the CBD areas that were very negatively geared. So you would get a big tax deduction, and that helps the individuals on high wages. SMSF, no, it's 15% tax rate. So the negative gearing is, you still get some benefit, but it's not that great. Positive gearing. The difference between negative and positive gearing is negative gearing means you're making a loss. Yeah, okay, you're getting some of your money back in a tax deduction, but you're still making a loss. Positive gearing is you're making an income, and then you get a little bit of tax on it. So
can I just bracket that with everyone that you did previously? Every one of those clients is now positively geared, and every one of those clients is now pretty much double the value of their investment. So in the it might be a short-term thing, but certainly in the long run, it's not the case.
But that was who were selling fantastic properties back there. I can give my best well, yes, but that was when the closer to the CBD, and then now you're going regional, because back then we targeted, both Jeff and I both saw Queensland as so well below, and this is an example to our credibility going back into the past. We saw Queensland, Brisbane, 20 to 30 minutes from the CBD as just key purchasing, because it was in the 400,000. You could buy a 4-bedroom brand new home for 400,000 within 30 minutes of the CBD. And where can you possibly do that? Those homes are now all worth $600,000-$700,000. And that's when we pulled out and went, no, they've gone too high. We need to look elsewhere. And I left Jeff to do that. But yeah, so negative gearing is, not necessarily a good thing, because it means you're making losses. Positive gearing, you're making a profit. So that's great.
So Kat just asked, when is your normal Q&A? And I sort of thought, sorry, Kat, I thought you meant you just wanted to ask a question. So you can ask a question right now. But our next Q&A, and I'm just going to quickly look at our website, our normal open Q&A was at the end of April, but I had to move it to the beginning of May because we've got a crypto basics and banter on the 29th of April. So it's the 7th of May is our next just open Q&A. But if you've got a question that may not be property right now, by all means, ask away. So we do on our website, and I'll just share the screen again so you can see. So on our website, we have a little event banner, which you can see here. So tonight's event's there. We do have some video recordings about asset protection and estate planning. The next event is Crypto Basics and Banter with Ainsley and Cass, and also Peter, who is our SMSF specialist accountant. And that supports Cass, and then the next just open Q&A is on the 7th of May. We are planning on doing another property Q&A, because I don't know, maybe tonight maybe it's Monday night, maybe that's what it is. We often find Wednesdays and Thursdays are quite popular days, but we'll do another property Q&A for sure, because Australians love property. Do Australians not love property, Jeff?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Everyone
I talk to does.
Sorry, say that again.
I said everyone I talk to does. I guess it's the one thing. I mean, you talk about crypto there just before, and I am an advocate for cryptocurrency. Don't get me wrong. I know people that have made tens of millions of dollars out of it. But crypto, just like any other asset class, is just another part of my portfolio. But I guess the one thing with crypto is, and shares for that matter, is that, you're in the hands of other people. Property is one of those things. It's yours. You can't take it away. If it's not at the bottom of a river, I use that term because if it floods or something like that, you tend to, be less valuable. But certainly, your property can never be taken away from you. It's always going to be there. And unfortunately, in this country, there's a lot of people that aren't aware that they can buy property in their own names and in their SMSF. Our philosophy is that property should be for everybody. Everybody who has any form of funds for whatever reason should be able to buy a property. So that's part of what we do, is because we're very passionate about it, and we do like that our clients succeed. One of our most successful client stories is actually a young guy. He's 19 years old, and he bought his first property last year, where we've helped him buy that, and he's just bought his second one at 20 years old. So
wow.
He is one of our success stories, and he's not going to buy again, but because he can't. But he's got a 5-year plan. His portfolio includes cryptocurrency as well, and he wanted to sell some of it to buy another one. And I basically said to him, you need to think that through. So
wow.
At the expense of us doing another deal for him, I feel that you've got to balance your portfolio out. So as you were saying before, Jess, property is just another part of a larger group of assets, and all of them work together to get you to where you want to be.
He's only 20. He's got a good 30, 40 years ahead of him. You've got a long tail client there.
If he retires at 25, he will. Yeah, absolutely.
Jeanette has her hand up. Jeanette, do you have a question?
I do, if I can ask it, please. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, great. I know we're talking a lot about SMS, but if you want to buy a property out with cash and let's say we're thinking around 400,000, how much extra do you need for all your extra costs, like agency fees and, sort of how much do you need to look at having?
Yeah. Jeff, do you mind if I answer that one?
I'm not a qualified
sure.
accountant, but I'm not a practicing accountant, so it's probably best that you answer that one.
Yeah, so Jeanette, if you are buying something outright, let's say 400,000, first of all, it depends on which state, because each state, the stamp duty would be different. Yeah, so for example, in Queensland, roughly, New South Wales, let's say $17,000 for the stamp duty, and the title transfer fee. On top of that, you probably want to engage a conveyancer to look through the contract just to make sure everything is correct. It's for your benefit. That would cost around $1,000. And of course, if there's an established property, you want a building and pest inspector to go in on your behalf just to make sure everything is all right. That should be around, let's say, $500-600. And of course, you need insurance on top of that before you settle. And if you need, for example, one of our agents to help you to find the property, that would cost around 3% of the purchase price at settlement. So having said that, all these upfront costs, I would confirm with Cass later, I think they should be tax deductible when it comes to capital gain tax, because they should be part of the purchasing costs. Yeah. Yeah, she's nodding. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add to that, Jeanette, there a lot of our buying agents' fees, they are, like I said, we target certain properties and we target certain regions where we know we can get good capital growth. So a lot of our clients actually have made our fee back before they even settle, just through pure capital growth in the properties. And that's because we work in the off-market space. So just to give you an example, we bought a property for a client in Central Queensland. That particular lady never bought before. She didn't have a lot of money, and she came to us and she said, yes, want to try and buy one. This was in her SMSF, but a similar sort of situation. The property, it was actually about 5 houses down, that went on the market, and that property went for $455,000. It was an identical property on identical size block of land, paying the exact same rent as we bought for this lady. This lady, we were lucky to secure her in an off-market space, and she only paid $424 for it. So she saved $31,000 on an on-market property as opposed to an off-market property. And that's where we generally work. That property is now worth close to, she bought that in, I think, November or December last year, and that property is now close to $500,000, if not over $500,000. So that's the sort of space that we do work in. We don't want you to invest in properties so when it comes to our fee, for instance, like our fee is fairly standard across the board for a lot of different buyers agents. So the fee, like I said, our fee is generally, you've already made your money back because of the markets that we do buy in and the spaces that we do buy in. So that one that was on the market, for instance, exactly the same house, there was 5 or 6 people that are climbing over that. And when you do that, it does drive that price up because they can see that other people are competing for that particular property. So that's why we like to work in the off-market space.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we have
roughly around 3% of the purchase price. Sorry.
Yes. Is that Jeanette speaking? Yes. So the service fee is 3% of the purchase price plus GST, and it's payable at settlement. So for example, if we have around $400,000 cash, I would aim something around 350,000 property to start with. So plus the purchasing cost, that would leave you just under 390,000, and you still have some cash left there if you need to fix the property up a little before you rent it out, right? So you always have a little bit cash left over there. So if you want to purchase a property around 400,000 in cash, then I would suggest you to have the extra 35,000 sitting there just to pay for the stamp duty, all the things that I just mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. Didn't you say stamp duty was 70,000?
17.
17.
Yeah, so I can just bring the
17. Oh, okay.
item
That's a
up.
little bit different. Okay. All right. Sorry, I thought you said 17. I thought, oh, that's a bit
Well,
high.
the
Okay.
governments would love to charge you 70,000.
Of course, I
Yeah,
know that.
so
I know that, definitely.
there is a stamp duty calculator online. So I'm going to calculate
Yes,
right
I've
now
seen
so
that,
we
yes.
get you the correct exact amount. If we're investing in New South Wales as an investment and you are not a first home buyer, I assume, buying an established home, so actually the stamp duty for that is 13,000, 13,000 for $400,000 home.
All right. Another question is, I think Jeff, you mentioned about don't buy in mining towns and things like that. Obviously, you would look on the contract for flooding areas. Is there anything else that you would look on the contract of, what you wouldn't buy into, what sort of area?
We don't at the moment, and I'm only stressing at the moment, we don't like buying into major centres like Brisbane, Gold Coast, and Sunshine Coast. We don't like mining towns. Anything outside of that, there's a lot of good deals out there. You can find a lot of good things. My only suggestion, what we do is we do compare apples with apples. If you want to buy in a body corporate, there are body corporate fees and levies and things that go with that. The benefit of buying in a body corporate is there's no separate insurance fee, so the insurance is built into your body corporate fees in many cases, not all cases, but almost every case it is. To give an example, we found a beautiful property for somebody in Ely Beach, and it overlooked the harbour. It was amazing. $289,000, beautiful, rented at $530 a week, had a spa and all these other great things. And in the end, the body corporate fees on that were $14,000 a year. So their $28,000 in income became $14,000, and that's before they even paid rates or anything else, or mortgage or anything like that. Not mortgage. Yeah. So if you are going to buy in for cash, body corporates are probably they're a little bit better because you don't have to factor in the fact you've got to make mortgage payments. But just be wary that when we do calculations, we do compare apples with apples, and we don't say don't buy in body corporates, but body corporates do add an extra layer of expense to it. And the other side of that too is that you're not in control of that. I mean, a bit like rates, for instance, the local governments tend to set those rates. Body corporates, I saw one we tried to buy for a client the weekend. I didn't like the deal, so I told her to back out of it and not to continue with it, and she did. But I just didn't like the way it was playing out with the seller. So we advised her we're going to walk away from this and we're going to find something else. But that particular one, their body corporate was $800 a quarter or something. Went up to $1,600 because they all got brand new driveways, and then it's dropped back down to $800 again. So all of a sudden, like, you have to put a new driveway in. There's an extra $800 per quarter you've had to come up with and find. So, but just be wary of body corporates, or we're very wary of body corporates, and the way that we set our formulas out to you. So when we do this for you, we will put out exactly, it's a template. We don't know exactly what some of these fees are going to be. We can only use the estimates that are provided by the agents to us, and also the disclosure statements that are provided by the agents as well. So we are relying on a lot of the agent information and our own experience, I guess, for that matter.
Okay, thank you.
But that's my only two things. Just mining towns, no. I will. This is my opinion, again, for what it's worth. But stay away from Victoria. They've got some crazy rules down there. Victorians, you can't put a gas stove in your house, and if you've got a gas stove in your house, you have to take it out and put an electric one in. Don't ask me why, but apparently that's one of those Dan Andrews things. And in Queensland, it's in New South Wales, it's called NCAT, but the Civil Administrative Tribunal in Victoria is very, very. You've only got to watch Current Affair to see some of the stuff. I don't watch Current Affairs, but if you ever watch any of those sort of shows, it's always based in Victoria. Victoria, or generally Victoria, New South Wales, but Victoria heavily, their VCAT system down there is broken very, very badly, and it's in favour of tenants. So you as an owner have less rights than your tenants. So if you do end up, and it doesn't always happen, but if you do end up with a tenant who decides that they're not going to pay the rent, you know, you may not see that money for years. So
yeah. And
yeah,
I think half of Victoria's moved up to Queensland, haven't they?
yeah.
Now, we do have 5 minutes left, and I know Kat's got her hand up. So, Kat, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, well, it feeds into what Jeff was just saying, because it was going to be about the differences between the states, and things like, I know there's like land taxes as well are different.
Look, land taxes are everywhere. Not so much land taxes. They were trying to bring a land tax out in Queensland where you paid it even if you had holdings in other states. That was Anastasia's crazy idea that never got off the ground. Just to going back to what Catherine was saying earlier about things that don't fly. That was a crazy, I don't know what she was trying to achieve with that. Anyway, she's not here anymore. They got voted out the last election. But there are state taxes that you do need to take into consideration. Stamp duty is probably the biggest of them. Land tax doesn't kick in unless you earn it, and every state's different. I think in Queensland it's over about 800,000, not including your principal place of residence, which doesn't matter anyway because if you live in the state. And they're things to consider. So we like every state, to be honest. There's some real, apart from Victoria, there's some really, really good options right around the country, and there's so many opportunities for people that if you just know where to look, and I guess that's where we come in, and that's why we charge our fee for it, is that we've done a lot of that sort of research to try and find it. But look, land taxes are everywhere. Probably not as heavily as the ACT. I think they get land tax pretty heavily down there.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it very well.
But certainly in Queensland, New South Wales, of South Australia, there's some really amazing places in South Australia. So, unfortunately, we do have to pay those. But if you're only buying one, generally you've got to have and it's only on the unimproved value. Just correct me there, Jess, but it's on the unimproved value of your property. So if you buy a property for $800,000, doesn't mean you pay land tax on the $800,000. It's on what they call the unimproved value of your land. So to give you an example, for instance, where I live is about 30 minutes north of the Brisbane CBD, still in Brisbane City Council. I live on 1,400 odd square metres. The block of land, if I sold it, would probably be worth $1 million, but my rateable value is only about 590,000. So that's what they use. They don't use the value of your property. They only use the value of the unimproved value of your land. Well, in Queensland anyway. I'm assuming the other states are exactly the same. So even if your house was you bought an $800,000 house, you certainly would be paying any land tax on that. If you owned a couple of them, if you owned 2 or 3 of them, then it starts to sort of kick in. And I'm not even sure if it goes across entities. I think in different entities, it doesn't count either. So if you've got one in your SMSF and one in your own name, I don't believe that the land tax would apply to them together. I believe they are separate.
That's in Queensland, that's correct, Jeff, yes.
Okay.
In other states, particularly Canberra and I think New South Wales, it's been a while since I've looked at it, they add it together from every entity that you're involved in. But Queensland, we're nice and relaxed. Yeah, we don't, you can have it in multiple entities. You can actually have properties just set up a different.
All of a sudden.
Set up a
No, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. So look, we have 1 minute left. And you have you're coming in and out. You're coming in and out.
Sorry, Queensland is the best land tax state.
Look, thank you very much tonight. I think my key takeaway from all of this, and there is a small question here, but I was going to say my key takeaway here is that buyers agents appear to have a lot of access to properties that are quote unquote off market, which means that those of us that go looking at the real estate rags and online are missing out on some great opportunities. So now, Kat, I have just a P&A small QN. If you can ask another question. Come on, Kat.
All right. Well, now you've made me think of another one too. Like, I guess one question is, why do people go off market? When you would think that, if I put it on the market, I'll get more interest. And another question, which just quickly was, Owner occupied purchases. I know most of you guys are looking at investment properties specifically. What different things do you look for an owner occupied purchase versus an investment?
Just to answer that first, your owner occupied question, because it's the easy one to answer. It basically comes down to whatever you want. As an investment property, it's down to the numbers. So, and numbers and location are the two things that we do look for. When you're living in your own property, you want all the wants. I want air conditioning. I want ducted. I want to be close to the beach. I want this. I want that. So they're the things that you're personally are good for you. So I'm not going to suggest to you to buy a property in Longreach, for instance, if that is something that, not that I would anyway, but if I'm not going to suggest you buy a property in Broken Hill, for instance, if you want to live near the beach. So your wants are very different when it comes to owner occupier property. So that's why from an owner occupier's perspective, you've got to live with it day to day. From an investment perspective, you want the numbers to work for you. And it is what it is. It's an investment. How you treat that investment and how you want to maintain that investment is totally up to you. I've got clients, not clients. We've got a property management company here as well in Brisbane, and we have some people that will just not do a single thing to their house. They're happy to run it to the ground, which I never understand, and they wonder why they've always got tenants that are leaving. And we have other people that are happy to do the servicing on this, or happy to do that, or happy to do whatever it might be, and those tenants do stay. So it comes down. An investment property is a business. An owner occupier property is what you want, and we can do both. We do concentrate in the investment space because that's the affordable space that we like to work in. But if you wanted to buy a $2 million property, we can certainly help you do that as well. So that's that part of it. As opposed to on market, off market, everybody sells for different reasons. We do have our list, or not our list, but we do have a network right around the country of different real estate agents. Sometimes real estate agents tend to be in a space where they're waiting for photos, for instance, or they're waiting for floor plans to be drawn, or whatever. They're waiting for their clients to be ready to present their house. It might be a weekend or a school holiday, whatever it is. What they generally will do is they will send that to us off market. They call it off market because it doesn't go on to All Homes or realestate.com or Zango or any of those sorts of different domain. Doesn't go onto the portal, so nobody knows about it except who they send it to at the moment. I've got a property I'm selling at the moment. I'm waiting for the tenants to be notified that that it can go on the market, and in that time frame, the agent I'm using in that particular area has been putting that out to all of his client list, including myself, as well. So that is the space we do work in. Some people can't afford the advertising fees that go with it. Some people really the property might have been, as Cass was saying before, they buy the property negatively geared, and all of a sudden it's costing them so much money, so they don't want to go and spend the money to be able to put it on the market. But as my example tells before, and it's not the only example, get on the phone with me and we'll go through 25 examples of exactly that situation where people put the property on the market. They sell one 5 doors down the street for $31,000 more by going on the market. It just makes sense, and you get more money when there's competition. Off market, we're our sole operator, so we're the ones that are in control of it. We don't sit there and try and force properties up. And to be honest, there are some agents around this country who really don't know what they're doing, and we love buying from them, and that's the reason we buy through them. So in my particular case, I'm selling a property through a different agent than the one I bought it through. He actually rang me today, and to give you this little chestnut, but he said to me, "You can't sell your property within 12 months of buying it." And I said, "What?" And he said, "You can't sell your property within 12 months of buying it." So some agents are clueless as well, but he's got the property for us to buy. So we're happy to buy up that particular guy, but we won't sell through him, for instance. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you all for your time today.
All right. Well, so thank you very much for joining us tonight. Jeff, actually, do you want to put your email address in the chat there just in case anyone...
Listen, I'm as technically defunct as possible, so...
Okay. So Property Advisors Australia, if you just Google Property Advisors Australia, Jeff will turn up. Jessica put her email address in there, and Jessica's in touch with Jeff as well, so that's no problem. And if you need to contact anyone, contact me.
Is that just in the chat, is it? Oh, yeah, I've got it now. Yeah.
And you can always contact me and I'll put you in touch with them. We work very closely with these guys, and I've got to say, we had a catch up. Jeff and Jessica is in Canberra, but Jeff came down to Canberra a few months ago now, and we had a catch up. And I, from that, changed my own property manager. Thank goodness, because not all property, we didn't talk a lot about property management. Once you have an investment property, you really do need the right property manager. And I was going to say, if you do have an investment property and you do want a health check, then let me know or let Jessica know, and a free health check. Are your property managers doing the right thing by you? Are they looking after it? Is the tenant right? Are you charging the right rent in that area? Some of the stories I heard over lunch were quite remarkable. So free health check. Jessica can help you out there. Put you in touch. Anyway, thank you everybody tonight. We'll do another one maybe in a month or so. And by all means, stay in touch. And if you've got any questions, just send us an email. Thanks. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good
Anna.
day.
Thanks.